more, Mina? If you speak to an anime fan of a certain age, shall we say, there are always a few classics that often come up. Kimagure Orange Road, Urusei Yatsura, Bubblegum Crisis, Cyber City 080808, and many others. And Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water, is one from the pantheon of anime series that made an impression on fans of anime in the 90s. Hailing from Gainax, more famous for the later Evangelion, made a staggering 80 million yen loss from the series, and having no rights to the TV series itself, Gainax turned to video games to try and make some income off of the franchise across a smattering of Japanese platforms, from the X68000, Famicom, FM Towns, Mega Drive, and of course, the PC Engine. The PC Engine outing was released in early 1993 by Hudson Soft and was based on events in the mid-series slump that Nadia suffered from. Think of it as a sub-story, or Nadia Gaiden if you will. This is an out-and-out digital comic. There are elements of an adventure game, but you have no real inventory to speak of, and it's just a matter of exploring and triggering events. And end-to-end, if you are fluent in Japanese, you'll get through this game, using that word loosely, in about an hour. Set in 1889, not wishing to give too much away about the anime in case you want to watch it someday, Jean, Nadia, and the little girl that rescued Marie as well as King are washed ashore from the sinking Nautilus submarine and on to an uninhabited island. There they have built their lives, but one night a wild storm destroyed their encampment. Somehow this storm brought an island before them, and there they were reunited with the Grandis gang along with Ayrton. With food abundant on the island, they moved on to it. On this island they discovered various strange goings-on, not least the fact the island was moving, but life settled down. One day the moving island came to a halt in front of another mysterious island. With curiosity being too much to bear, they embarked on the island before them and decided to try exploring it, and discovered that it held a secret. All of this may sound vaguely familiar to some of the later plot lines in the anime, but it exists as its own work, as by this time the anime's TV run had come to an end in 1991. There are two options to play, the main story and a quiz mode. The story is what I will spend my time on in this review. The first thing that will strike you about this game is how beautiful the introduction cutscenes are. Using traditional pixel art presentation, they look superb and represent the source material to a T. In the dated for full motion video, this is as good as it got in my book. Initially, the animated introduction sets the scene before you embark on your adventures. On arriving on the mysterious island, they all set out to explore it, with Nadia, Jean, and Marie exploring the island's interior, eventually discovering the opening to an ancient ruin. Being too much to pass up, the trio enter the ruin, only for the door to slam shut on them, trapping them. After exploring for some length of time, they eventually discover they're not alone, when met at gunpoint by an original character for this production, Fishes. On realising they don't pose a threat, Jean and Fishes go out to search for the rest of the Grandis gang before it gets dark, leaving Nadia, Marie and King at the secluded village behind the ruins. Marie, teasing Nadia, notices that Fishes bears a resemblance to Electra, who you may know from the anime. Later on, as Jean and Fishes search the island for the Grandis gang, Fishes asks why Jean and Nadia came to the island and suggests that they were escaping the Neo-Atlanteans, which startles Jean that Fishes knows of them and Neo-Atlantis. It's at this point that Fishes reveals the Garfish submarine's presence on the island, and she reveals that 3 years ago the Neo-Atlanteans arrived on the island led by the original character for the game, Goblin, and they subjugated the people to work like slaves. Many of the islanders perished as a result, including Fishes' parents. And the rest of the story I will leave for you to discover and enjoy if you play this game. The biggest flaw of this game might now be evident, especially for learners of Japanese if you've been looking at the footage. The spoken dialogue subtitles can at times move at an incredibly fast pace, with seemingly no option to pause or slow it down. This is a huge knock on this as a good learning tool, as you need to be a damn fast reader or a good listener in the voice sections to catch the story. That said, the voice acting is great, from the original cast such as Nadia being voiced by Takamori Yoshino and Jean by Hidaka Noriko. All of this helps you as the player feel that this is an authentic work. I mention all of this, the fact that it could easily be in an episode of the anime story-wise, the quality of the artwork and relative animation and voice acting, because really, that's the pull of something like this, because it certainly isn't as a game. This is like an interactive episode of the anime, to an extent. Presentationally, it gets a thumbs up. But I feel Hudson missed something here. There's no jeopardy in this game. It's a matter of entering the right space at the right time and looking at the right object in the right time, sometimes doing it more than once, which I always feel is a bit of a cardinal sin with this type of game. There is also no inventory to speak of, meaning what slight chance does this have of being considered an adventure game evaporate, especially as the exploration that does exist is very much front-loaded. The previously reviewed Lama Nibo no Ichi Toraware no Hanayome was no tour de force on that front, but it did have some form of inventory and adventure gaming, coupled with excellent voice acting from the original cast, and graphically really was a treat for fans of the series. Looking at company stalwart Shinichi Nakamoto's comments on the direction of gaming, and Hudson in general in mid-1992, when Hudson unveiled its new HUC62 platform, it would be the basis for what would become the PCFX. It would appear that Hudson was really lamenting the amount of time that animating and illustrating scenes such as in this game were taking, and that in the future, interactive FMV that was animated using non-traditional animation techniques would speed up development immensely. All of that is true, but if you're looking for a game, then the straight digital comic will always be a bit lacking, and you could argue in such a landscape, was that the best use of Hudson's talent as a games developer? Digital Comics felt much more like a traditional publisher of manga would be a better fit for a straight digital comic like this. But back in the day, to produce even a digital comic required people who were very skilled in development, like Hudson. As a game, there really isn't much of one here. What we have instead is a piece of somewhat interactive multimedia that fans of the series will definitely appreciate, but everyone looking for a game as well as a story will feel that it comes up a bit lacking. Other similar ventures, such as the excellent Urusei Yatsura, Dear My Friends from Game Arts for the Mega CD, really demonstrated what could have been done. Presentationally, it's great for its time, but as a game, it lacks a lot. It needed an inventory, a sense of jeopardy in some sequences, and even a little action here and there. And I don't mean sliding block puzzles, of course. Maybe pairing it with a little RPG action, with the animation being the cutscenes we have here. But alas, that's not what Hudson was making. They have made a digital comic which Nadia fans will enjoy and feel its authenticity, but as a game, I can only give it a fair rating or 2 stars out of 5. As always, this doesn't mean it's bad, there's just limitations with it. Japanese level-wise, the biggest problem this game has is that the dialogue has a tendency to move on extremely fast for even fairly fluent readers. If you're learning Japanese, you'll need to be on your A game if your listening skills are also a work in progress. At least once exposition is finished, you can usually prompt the last piece of dialogue by looking at something or chatting with someone again. The kanji is fairly well drawn though, and is good in terms of legibility. In terms of the level of language, it's conversational level Japanese, around JLPT N3 level. Ultimately, Shinichi Nakamoto's statement on how long pixel art-based animation and illustration took was right, but when done right, it does leave a beautiful impression as Nadia does. I should quickly mention that quiz mode, which fans of the series may get a little bit of amusement from, and a good test of your Japanese skill if you're learning, but its inclusion doesn't change my overall assessment. Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water on a PC Engine is one for the fans, and I wouldn't pay a lot for it at all, especially as there are many other ways that you can enjoy this game on your PC Engine, if you know what I mean. I feel that Hudson represented the source material excellently, but this is no game. This is strictly a mildly interactive digital comic with a quiz tacked on, a little bit of a lost opportunity, sadly. As always, like, subscribe and all of that shit, and also check out this rad Rubbish Heap merch, available worldwide on Redbubble and Amazon. See the links below for how to purchase. I've been Saki Endo, and this has been a Rubbish Heap. じゃあねーね。
不思議な島を舞台に永遠のヒロインナディアが巻き起こす胸ワクワクの大冒険デジタルコミック「不思議の海のナディア」